I just think it's really awesome what you're doing. You have clearly had an incredible career already and have a lot of exciting stuff to come. We both have 3 kids, so we have that in common. And you recently made the move to Compass, and it seems like you're super happy, and that's going awesome. So I'd love to hear from you. Kind of, you're in New York now. I know you have this growing team, and I feel like I've been watching you for a long time, and you have a really awesome business. And now I feel like you have really hit your stride and are like going to that next level. And so I'd love to hear how your work-life balance, if you feel like the ages of your kids has affected that, like that has helped you kind of like get to this next, taking your 4 o'clock pitch, or, and just any advice you have for moms out there that are looking up to you.
So I definitely think the ages of my kids is starting to help. They are 2, 5, and 7. And thank goodness for summer camp, that helps a lot. The 5 and 7-year-old are gone most of the day. I think that it's been, I kind of feel like I started in real estate right after my first son was born. So approximately 7 years ago. And I keep on waiting for that slow moment. Ironically, the slow moments were those first few years where I was working on a team and I was working full time, but it was, not on my own business. And I keep waiting for it to slow down. And even when the market slows down, I don't feel like that translates to us being slower. I don't know if you feel the same way about that.
I feel the same way. Completely agree. Completely agree. Because I don't slow down. I'm like, oh, okay, well, now that no one's calling, I better like do more and figure out how to make it happen and get that thing sold now.
Yes. And I feel like the move to Compass has helped us. I feel like my personal career started to ramp up kind of right before COVID. And that was actually around the time that I had my 3rd child also. And I sort of bounced back, but I didn't bounce back at like 100% because like I kind of thought the market was going to slow down, and I don't want to make that mistake again. So I'm trying now, while a lot's going on right now, but to sort of set up the system so that when we're in another rearing market, that we have the infrastructure as a team to take on as much as we can.
Right. Because the problem when things get really, really busy is that opportunities just fall through the cracks because you can't service them, right?
Right. You make mistakes, things fall through the cracks, you drop the ball on things, and it's your fault. And I used to beat myself up about that so much. I'm getting a little bit better about that. It definitely takes time and effort to sort of waive that. I think being a mom, though, has made me personally much more efficient.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think it makes you prioritize. That's for sure. I mean, it helps you with you're like, all right, I really want, like, even today, I was like, I'm moving appointments around so that I can go be with my kids this evening because it's probably not even going to be good weather tomorrow. And I just want to be able to be there. And so, I'm going to be done at 4. Okay, that's great. You know what I mean? And whereas before I would have just been like, yeah, I guess I'll just keep working, and I won't need to be necessarily so efficient because I don't have plans until, I don't know, Sunday, and who cares? And I'll just keep working through the weekend, which doesn't necessarily make you more productive anyway,
It's true.
Or enjoy anything more than you are. So tell us about your structure. I mean, I feel like you have kind of a partnership or a team, or what would you call kind of the structure that you have? Because I think that's also important for other moms out there that are either trying to get into this or looking up to someone like you and thinking like, wow, she's really crushing it. Do I need an assistant? Do I need to be the only one? How did you find the person that you're working with, or the people that you work with?
So I work in a partnership with my business partner, Tanya, and I really sort of organically lucked out in finding her when I had just started in real estate. She was working as an assistant on another major team, and she actually ended up teaching me a lot of sort of the basics of the business because she was the one on the team who was in the office who I would ask questions to. And we just got along, and we kind of always joked that it would be nice to work together down the road. And, I feel like everything in my real estate career has happened, thankfully, like sooner than I thought. So I had this vision of when my kids were really little, it would be this part-time thing. And then somehow magically, when everyone was in kindergarten, my business would just take off and then I could focus on it full time. That's not been the experience. That's a good thing, but it was just not according to plan. And same thing with Tanya and sort of finding someone to help be your day-to-day sort of work wife and partner. I thought that that would be when my business was bigger, when I knew what I wanted. And it sort of just happened organically that we both were at a relatively small firm before, and we both needed help, but sort of weren't ready to invest in an assistant or someone underneath us. And so we just started helping each other out. And she doesn't have kids currently, so the hours and sort of flex worked well. Our schedules mesh, but most importantly, our work ethics really match. And I think that's one of the hardest things to find is if you're all in, finding people to be around you who are as excited about sort of the team's trajectory, but also their own career trajectory. Because I think I sometimes assume that everyone feels the same way about how much they want to work and life balance that I do. And that is not the case.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, for better or for worse, the industry has been so, I would say, can we call it glamorized? That everybody thinks it's super easy. And then, they come in and they're like, oh, this is annoying. And I'm not making that much money on even this deal. I'm like, you're barely cutting me in. And you're like, well, I don't know. I've been working with a client for 5 years. You showed up and you showed it 20 times. Okay. I feel badly that you had to be there on Sunday, 9 a.m. Still, like the last time I checked, you wouldn't even have this listing, if it wasn't for me. Or, I think there's definitely, I think you need someone who's the same work ethic or at the same plane of work ethic with probably other complementary skill sets probably as well. Right. Maybe
Yes.
you're better at some things and they're better at other things, which I think is another way that you can be complementary, right, with each other. And then it's like, okay, and then just making it happen and then making the business come in and closing it.
Right. And we sort of organically came together, and at first we thought we were testing it deal by deal. And as we both saw that it was working and, places that I was falling short or felt stressed out, she was supporting me and vice versa. We were like, this is working well. And now we've built out a team underneath us, which was a very scary investment. And, continues to be that when you're thinking like, okay, well, now that we're here and we're busy and we can take on more, do we add more people? But it's it's a funny job because I was in corporate America before and I had very set hours. Like I knew what sort of the bounds of my workday were. And there's so much flexibility in this job, which I love, but there's also, it bleeds into everything. So people are like, oh, well, I see you at school drop off. Like, so you have this great flexibility. And I try to make drop off. That's my thing. But it's a full-time job in every sense. It's just spread over 7 days instead of 5.
Yeah. 7 days and 7 nights and 7 mornings.
Yes.
7 vacations and 7. It's like everywhere. Right. And I feel like people are so funny. They're like, I was actually talking to a top agent yesterday for a mastermind I was doing. And he was talking to me about like getting into luxury and whether I thought that, talking about joining a country club or joining an organization and meeting people and talking about how, and he said something about like, so you like think of that as like business could come out of those things. And I was like, I don't think you understand, like there isn't a moment of my life that there isn't a potential that business could come from an interaction, basically, even if it's with my family, because the fact that like your family could refer you to somebody, you know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that you're hitting them up for business, but it means that like you showing that you're professional and knowledgeable or even are just like a normal person to talk to, an upstanding citizen, could potentially turn into business. And so I was like, of course these organizations or additional relationships are going to potentially turn into business. But I think especially for people like us who are moms and meeting other people that way, that there's a lot of business that inherently, and it doesn't mean that it's all going to come from that or that that's going to be a large source of business for you. Maybe it won't be, but it still is a place where it could be coming from.
Right. And it's funny because I do a lot of business in my personal sphere. And in some ways I love that, but in some ways those are the hardest clients and deals and we're like the most stressful because they're the people you care about the most. And therefore, I feel like
the ramifications are big if for some reason, you not even drop the ball. It's not even about dropping the ball. It's just about, something not going their way, or the market shifting, or there being anything that could have possibly gone wrong that's outside of your control.
Yeah, with those people, it's emotionally the most draining for you, and you really have to step back and think like, what is the best thing for them to hear or do, even if it's not maybe what I want to say, because I want to, go above and beyond and please them and sort of comfort them. But like, what is the right business advice to be giving them if they were a stranger?
Yeah, totally. Well, right now, I guess we keep these short. I think it's nice to hear about what you're doing. I think that finding a partner the way that you did is awesome, because I actually think that it makes the risk that you're investing in still feel more palatable, because at least you have somebody to lean on. And I think that's
It makes the flows, like the ups and downs, better. Like, because I think people don't realize the first few years, especially as you're ramping up in your business, you have a good year, you have a bad year, and it sort of levels it out when someone else is sharing that.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have any parting words for new agents like you, when you were a new agent, like as if you were talking to yourself about what to do to actually make it? Because I mean, it sounds like your career took off relatively quickly, and I think other people would love to hear how what your takeaway is.
I think the two big things that helped me early on was just because I wasn't in real estate before, though I was in commercial real estate way back and then fashion, is remembering that there are like skills that you've learned in other areas that are very transferable to real estate, because it hits so many parts of skill sets, and like there's something you did before that you can definitely apply to real estate no matter what it is. And I think realizing that this is not easy or fast. Like the first 3 years are brutal. And there were so many days that I was like, wait, was this a good idea? But you kind of have to commit and give yourself the time to really see it out. I see a lot of people, try it for 6 months and then they're gone. And it's like, even if you would be the best agent, you're not going to know in 6 months. You have to give yourself more time and more runway.
Unless somehow you're brokering from your bedroom by accident before you become an agent, which I think there are people like that. I think there are people who are so connected and so business savvy, and maybe they're in another kind of business that somehow it's been natural to them to connect people to properties, because that's the only case where I can say, hey, maybe in your first couple of years, you're already going to be like, yeah, that was nothing. But for the rest of us, even if you come from, like you're saying, you come from fashion and commercial real estate, you're still going to have to, figure out so much of it. And the market could be maybe not super friendly at that moment to the newcomers, right? I mean,
I started in crappy markets, and I kind of feel like that actually has served me very well, because I never, for the first few years, deals didn't come easily. Deals took forever. Every deal was hard won. So when the market shifted, it was amazing, but I wasn't used to that. So when things are harder, it's sort of back to the norm for me.
I prefer it, because I feel like I get more time to breathe and think through the deals instead of having to rush through things, because I actually think the rushing is where the mistakes come from. Whereas when I have time to mull over the deal and think of how else I could make it work, I also think of what else could go wrong, which then makes me a better broker, instead of like the fast and furious shoving deals down people's throats, bidding up. I think it's easier to be sloppy.
Right. And I also think that's where people see like your value. And I know from our deals that have not come together that you are creative and you do sort of think outside the box about how to make something work, where a lot of brokers are just like, all right, this isn't working, I'm done. And
too far apart. You're like, I think no, I don't think we're too far apart.
Exactly.
You have a busy day ahead of you, and it sounds like you're prepping for a pitch. I'm walking out to a pitch myself. It's July 1st, and here we are still our butts off. For me in a vacant apartment,
for me alone in a vacant office, but
exactly, that says something. It says something.
Yes.
Yeah, right. We're going to be the ones that will have had a better second half of the year than some of these agents who had an incredible, just a big first half of the year, and now are trying to figure out what to do.
You can find me on Instagram at Allie Loves NYC, Allie with 2 L's, ALLI Loves NYC, Compass website, anywhere.
Okay, great. We will be tagging you. Thanks so much. It was great to see you, and have a great holiday weekend.